Hello, folks. Welcome to the July 10th Board of Selectmen meeting. We're going to begin with our annual organizational meeting, and I would like to go ahead and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's get this party started. I motion to nominate Ethna Thompson for chair.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstaining? Okay. Thank you so much. I motion to elect Ethan Schaefer as vice chair.
Sorry. Oh my God. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstaining? All right, folks. So let's start with the date and time of selectmen's meetings. They are currently first and third Monday of the month at 6 p.m. Does anyone have any interest in changing those dates and times? No. Perfect. Notification procedures for special meetings. Did we have, Joe, did we have anything in writing for notifications to special?
So
And I'll roll right into.
the notification policy does say that we're required to give 3 days notice to the public in Rangeley. If it's an emergency, what we're required to do is notify the press, and the press that we're normally in contact with as soon as possible.
Perfect.
If there's a meeting called, the chair would let me or Tracy know, and then we would send out an email, and we could send a text, or as chair preference, she could send a text too.
Okay. All right. So it is pursuant to the public notice policy. Yes. Okay, rules of procedure for selectmen's meetings. We do need a vote to adopt the Robert's Rules of Orders. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Perfect. Any discussion? All those in favor? It is unanimous. Point Town's legal counsel firm. Is Steve with us tonight?
You won't be with us tonight.
Okay.
Motion to appoint Town Ranges legal counsel firm, Freddie Flaherty.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
No,
Let's
that's
see
fine.
discussion.
Just curious, when's the last time that went out for bid?
Year and a half.
Council.
You're gonna have to
And
go
what
approximately. What was the exact?
It was within the last 2 years.
and what are they signed to?
So there's a contract in place, and the term, Madam Chair, read it to the board. The provisions of this agreement shall be for a minimum of 1 year, and shall continue in force so long as Freddie or one of its attorneys remain the appointed town attorney. So it's been 1 year, and it'll continue as long as you appoint them as the town attorney.
So at any time during this year, we could put out the bid. Well, if we want it for next year. Okay, just curious.
Any other questions? I'm so sorry, folks. Just shove the hand out so I can see. This is kind of a very weird angle. All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor? Good, that is unanimous. Town policies and trainings. So everyone should be in receipt of the numerous policies listed. Any information concerning the FOA training an elected officials workshop and orientation of newly elected officials. Joe, did they need to reach out to you to schedule?
You can either reach out to me or Tracy, and we can schedule that for you.
Perfect. And we all are required to do the FOIA annually, correct?
Correct. New members have up to
120 days.
120 days to do that.
Perfect. All of the policies that we have signed in acknowledgement of are available on our website. Should anyone care to look at a copy of those? And they include the code of ethics, the anti-discrimination, harassment, sexual harassment and retaliation policy, the media policy, contacting legal services policy, the grant acceptance policy, fund balance, general fund policy, investment policy, remote participation policy, the FOAA training. Nope, sorry. Back up. The remote participation policy was the last policy. All right, folks, and we'll just leave our sign sheets right here for you, Joe, for at the end of the meeting.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Perfect. Okay. And unless I'm missing something, I think we are at the end of the organizational meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Perfect. Any discussion? Ha ha ha, not a debatable motion. All those in favor? Thank you so much, folks. That was good. Right, unless anyone on the board needs a break, we'll roll right into the regular meeting. So I'll call the regular board of selectmen meeting to order at 6:06 PM and declare that we do in fact have a quorum in attendance. Item 2 is conflict of interest disclosure. In the interest of conducting business in an ethical manner, board members will disclose any conflict of interest on the matters before us. Yes.
I actually use Pretty Flaherty for a business attorney, but for real estate, but it's not anything that I do on a regular basis.
Thank you so much. All right, adjustments to the agenda. I see that we have the public hearing for the new vendor's license. So we will open the public hearing for Jerica Richards, Freedom's Forge.
I believe she's on the.
Okay.
She's on Zoom. She's
Okay.
doing the Zoom.
Looks like she's muted.
Is she? Jerica, did you want to offer us any information or details about your application?
We're sending.
Ha ha ha. Very nice stuff, thank you. Okay, so,
That came under.
okay, we will. Everyone's had the opportunity to review the application. Yes.
I have a question, Madam Chair. The pending certificate of liability, I see that she's got a screenshot of something, but I don't see the actual liability certificate that names the town of Rangeley as the certificate holder.
Yeah, so that does, Wendy, is that okay?
It's fine.
That does happen occasionally. In which case, if you feel comfortable, we tend to make the vote pending the
Okay.
certificate being
Yeah, I'm
submitted.
fine with it. I just.
Nope, that's great, thank you. Yes.
Chair, I'm with their insurance provider and carrier, and there's not a lot of information and what she's insured for. That screenshot, I just can't.
So let's see. Looks like it is scheduled to be, we don't have days and hours of operation determined yet. Specification for location will be the farmer's market in Rangeley Hideaway.
Yes. Stephanie Berea, owner of the Hideaway, here with my husband. I do have, she did send me the certificate. She had said she emailed it, but we do have I do have that. That's not a screenshot. And I can tell you as far as my communication with her has gone, that it would be, she would be parking on our lot on Tuesdays. And at the farmer's market, the downtown farmer's market on Thursdays.
And sorry, it's gonna, well, not this particular application. Does that conflict with the previously approved? Is that the same dates of the previously approved vendor?
It is.
For your location.
For our location.
So
yeah.
you'll have two
it'll be
trucks on Tuesdays.
Again, the sort of the reasoning behind that is that many other restaurants downtown are closed on Tuesdays, so we'd be able to provide two options for folks. I guess it's starting to shift a little bit.
And just out of curiosity, how many days last week did you have that food truck working?
She was open Monday the 3rd, Tuesday for the regular hours, and then Thursday for the farmer's market.
Right, and we only agreed on Tuesdays.
She was
At
already
your place, right,
Okay.
right. I mean, we only signed off on just Tuesdays. When we.
So my only concern with this current application that we're doing the
Okay.
public hearing for here is that the to be determined, if everybody's good with the Tuesday, the information from you, then we'll write that in Tuesday at the Hideaway Farmers Market on Thursdays. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any more public feedback, questions, board members that have any additional questions? All right, so let's go ahead and just like the last one, we'll discuss it in the public hearing. We'll close the hearing and then address it under the agenda item. Perfect. Close the public hearing. All right, folks, review and approve meeting minutes.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for June 20th, 2023.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous still. For June 26th, executive session.
Chair, I make a motion to approve the Ramsey Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from June 26th, 2023 with any additions or corrections.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Again, unanimous, Joe. June 28th, executive session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the Ramsey Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from June 28th, 2023. Any additions or corrections?
Discussion? All those in favor? And June 28th, Board of Selectmen and Quasi Transportation Study Workshop Notes.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the June 28th Wausau Village Transportation Study Workshop Notes. With any additions or corrections?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Is there any public to speak on a non-agenda item? Mr. Beauregard.
In the June 23rd edition of the Bangor Daily News, Judy Harrison reported that former Ranger selectman admitted Thursday in U.S. District Court in Bangor to accepting cash payments from a local marijuana grower in exchange for advocating for his attendance to select. David Burgess is described of Rangeley is described in court documents as a fixer and alleged written for Lucas Royce. And Burgess pleaded guilty to the charge of conspiracy with honest services fraud. The crime of honest services fraud is defined as a scheme to defraud another of the intangible right to honest service through a scheme to violate a fiduciary duty by bribery or fictive. So, Mr. Savoy's post on his Facebook page that even though everyone else in this organization except for him is a strange wife and his father, that he's been wrongfully accused. And the comments that Selectman Cage posted, may the true sector free from injustice, go get him. And I was just asking if she could provide a little input into the thought process behind that post.
Mark, I'm so sorry, because I don't believe this was the right venue to approach that subject.
I don't mind comment.
That is entirely up to you if you don't mind.
I don't know Luke, but I just feel, I don't know anything about his case. I had heard about it and I just assumed it was innocent until proven guilty.
May I respond?
If you must.
I don't disagree with the innocent until they're guilty. I just heard from some other people that interpreted your post to think that you felt that person that bribed a selectman shouldn't be held accountable. That's how some people interpret it. So I don't know if you want to, that's up to you to let it stand or clean it up or whatever, but I just wanted to ask you as a selectman, you know, that some of this stuff.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mark. You did ask, Wendell answered. We can move on from that. Any other public to speak on a non-agenda item? Yes,
So
Linda.
to address the deposit issue, is there going to be another meeting on that? And so when?
We don't currently have a public meeting scheduled, an additional public meeting scheduled. Joe, do you have any additional information?
So I do, Madam Chair. The second public meeting was held, which you attended, on June 28th. The draft feasibility report is being worked on now. There's a deadline in here, July 14th. I feel like it might be a little bit later than that, especially since we received this, and I'll submit this tonight. The draft feasibility report will be posted on the town's website on July 28th. So this board, the select board, meets on the 17th. If the board would like, we can make
August
this
17th?
July 17th. So July 14th, draft feasibility report is going to be worked on. The draft feasibility report will be posted on the town's website July 28th. I would recommend putting this item on the board's July 17th agenda for an update, so that we can let the public know where it's at in terms of the feasibility study.
Can I ask another question?
Yes. go ahead.
Am I the only one that's responded with comments, or did the others pop in as well?
Madam Chair, we received at least 2 other written submissions.
Okay, so Linda, we'll put it on our July 17th meeting if you want to come back to that one for an update.
I would be answering at that
Okay.
point, but thank you. Can I Zoom that meeting? I don't understand how the Zoom works.
You can zoom it or you can watch it on YouTube afterwards.
Okay,
I
so,
know after the fact doesn't really make it convenient, but
no, it doesn't. So if I was to Zoom one of your meetings, would I get to participate as a person in the audience or no?
you could, yes.
And you Zoom only if you don't have a quorum? Did I read that correctly?
That's
We always do.
behind you, yeah. That's what's
Yeah,
happening behind
so
you. All those
You can
people
see
are-
there are
are
people in
Zooming.
attendance.
But if you go
We
to
do.
the town website, that's.
Yeah.
Okay,
If you go to the town website, it says that you can't.
right, it said you can't.
Right, it's the policy that's not written correctly, which is something on my list that we need to update. Because the policy would indicate that we only Zoom in the absence of one of us being here, and that is not the case. We
Okay.
Zoom at every meeting.
So if I was at the July 17th meeting, you would see me raise my hand or ask a question or what have you?
Joe would see it. He would let me know and we could identify you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, one more date I'd like to include. August 11th is when public comments are due. So everybody will have a chance to look at the draft feasibility report when it's posted. And then there's another kind of final, if you will, public comment period that ends on August 11th.
And where is that going to, Joe?
Pardon?
Where are those comments supposed to be sent?
Send them to me, please.
All right. Okay, folks, anything else for non-agenda items? Down if you have, well, we did have something from boards and committees. Was it planning board included in our packet? No, okay, perfect.
It was that workshop.
That's what it was that threw me. Okay, let's roll into consent items, folks. So the first item is a liquor license. Regular renewal for the Rangeley Inn. Did we want to take the renewal and the extension separate? What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve the regular renewal and the extension together.
Perfect. Any further discussion? Nothing, nothing, okay, Travis, thank you for being in attendance.
Business as usual. The extensions from what?
Oh my
Congratulations.
goodness, and you didn't ask me to perform it? No. Fine. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All those in favor? That is unanimous, thank you so much, Travis.
Thank you very much.
Okay. The vendor's license for Jericho Richards Freedom's Forage.
Motion to approve the vendor's license for Jericho Richards and Freedom's Forage.
Second,
Perfect, any further discussion? Yes,
Just that we're looking at it to be announced for Tuesday, we've got that covered. Pending certification of liability.
perfect, yeah. So it is the days of hours in operation as provided are Tuesday at the Hideaway and Farmers Market on Thursday, pending certificate of liability. All those in favor? Unanimous. The vendor's license, thank you so much, folks. The vendor's license for Richard and Kim. Gourmet mini donuts.
Motion to approve the vendor's license for Richard and King McMahon with Gourmet Mini Donuts.
I actually have a question on this one. Has Allied updated their CUP to include this? Just like these folks had to in order to have the vendor truck on their property? Has Allied done so? If we don't know the answer, can we find out?
This is their second year, right?
Great, that doesn't mean it was done.
Nope, you're absolutely right.
It is the second year. What I would recommend, Madam Chair, is approval pending code enforcement officer update of the CUP. With the recent update of chapter 38, that's certain portions of the conditional use permit are now administered directly to the code enforcement office, which this would be. So if you made that motion pending CEO approval in CUP for this purpose.
I'll amend my motion for that.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Any further discussion? All those in favor? We have a quick claim deed. Book 4498, page 69. For sewer lane. Is the sewer lane, Joe?
Correct, Madam Chair. This is for the 2301 Main Street property. Property tax quitclaim deed has already been signed and turned back. This amount was paid at the same time. There was a check for the amount that was due. But I did not get you the municipal quitclaim deed. That was me that didn't get it to them for the sewer discharge.
I make a motion to release the claim deed on book 4498, page 69.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you so much. Okay, treasurer's disbursement warrants. These are the annual authorizations. First for state fees. It's the policy designated to allow for municipal officers acting on behalf of the full board of the municipal officers to review, approve, and sign municipal treasurer's disbursement warrants for payment of state fees only. Anyone want to make a motion?
So
Thanks, guys. Any further discussion? Yes.
Madam Chair, the board will need to determine which of the three categories below you select. It's typically has been all five folks would see, have the opportunity to see and sign. Procedurally, once three of you have signed it, it's approved for payment. So they're here tonight, but they're available in the office out front generally. If you want to stop by during the week, or you can give us a call, can trace around and see if they're ready. And once we get into that rhythm, these should be done weekly.
Yeah, so typically, is it the first selection, Joe, that any one of?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, any one of the municipal officers named above.
I heard that in
Acting
Jimmy's
alone.
motion.
I would amend my motion to include the first selection there of any one of the municipal officers named above acting alone may review, approve, and sign such warrants.
Thank you so much, fellas. And if anybody, all those in favor? If anybody wants to take on the employee wage and benefits one next. Yeah, with the anyone, right, Jimmy?
You are correct, I'm sorry, amend my motion to
No.
accept that first on the list of three again for any of us to sign.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous, Joe. Okay, Dark Skies Initiative Letter of Support. The town manager is looking for authorization to sign the letter of support for the Dark Skies Initiative.
Make a motion for the town manager to sign the Dark Skies Initiative.
Second.
Just one. Any further discussion from the board? Looks like I've had some interest from,
What is this? The Dark Skies Initiative.
you want to take a stab at it?
So it's a project that promotes efficient use of lights, especially in areas that are not urban, such as Rangeley. It's intended to protect the beauty of the area at night, and it also takes into consideration flight paths of migratory birds and things like that. But it really is to protect the area from against light pollution. So that the new chapter 38 has some provisions already in it that were passed by the town meeting, talking about the lumens that are allowed to point in certain directions, and the amount of lights that you can have in certain places. So it's to protect the night sky in the area. And there's an effort to do it in the region, which Linda is working with other folks in the community. So it's ranging, but I think there's also working with plantations to some degree.
So instead of every street light, every other rooms would be a little bit less. Or something in that similar.
Madam Chair, our streetlights in the last few years, we've updated them all to be dark sky compliant. CMP actually did that for us. Put the new streetlights in, and there's been a savings, so it didn't cost us anything for them to go in. It's not save us money, but kind of like the concept is like that. It won't technically apply to streetlights in this case, but like that.
All right.
Is that good, Jim?
I'm good, yeah.
Perfect. Board all set, all those in favor? That is unanimous. E911 addressing road name.
Motion to approve the E911, excuse me, road name for Lakefront Lane.
Second.
Woohoo.
Doesn't matter who.
Your choice. Dealer's choice.
That was my.
All right, is there any further discussion on this, folks? All those in favor? That is unanimous, Joe. Okay. Now to appointments. First, airport manager.
You want the appointment for each one? I mean, motion for each one?
Yes, please.
We can do that. Make a motion to approve the appointment of Henry Roach to the airport manager.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous, Joe. The assessor?
Motion to Robert Duplessis Jr. for the assessor.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Emergency Management Director.
Motion to Michael Bacon be appointed emergency management director.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Health Officer.
Motion to Lindsay Savage be appointed health officer.
Further discussion? All those in favor? And Registrar of Voters.
Make a motion for Martha Belt. Voters.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Perfect.
I know, you and Mindy both about that during the meeting, like, let's go. Perfect, perfect. Okay. All right, correspondence. Looks like we have received a letter from Western Maine Community Action. Just as an update, it looks like, correct? Am I reading that incorrectly?
No action required.
Perfect. So much. All right. Old business. I know there's nothing on the agenda. Can I bring up a couple of things to put on the next one? Under old business, or just kind of ask where we are? So I noticed that at this, I was reviewing some policies and things, Joe, and it looks like at the second meeting of each month, we're supposed to get a grant status sheet report. If we can get that on the second meeting of each month's agenda, I'd appreciate it. Do we have an update on the banking and investment RFP status? What month were we gonna do those in?
Late August into September, as I recall.
Okay, perfect.
There is a draft being worked on currently.
Okay. Any updates on the Maine High Peaks National Wildlife Refuge? Have we heard anything?
Only thing that I've heard recently, I think there's a meeting, it might even be this evening, in Sugarloaf, that was kind of an invite only meeting. That's really the only update I've had about that. And there are folks still formulating their opinions.
So hopefully we should get them as anything moving forward is proposed.
Yeah, if there are any updates, I'll share.
Perfect. Any updates on the attainable housing that we directed you to assist with?
Yeah, I do have a little bit on that. Matt and I have talked. He shared some examples of TIF, attainable housing TIFs with me. We've discovered that we both had an interest in using the same attorney for TIF work at Jensen Baird. So turns out that neither one of us will probably be able to use them. So I've got to talk with Freddie about whether we can use somebody inside their firm and leave that particular person for that. So that's kind of where Matt and I are at with that. I think we're really at the point here, I agree, we're kind of at the point where we need the attorneys to help us make the next move on this. We've got to figure that out.
Perfect. Okay, that was all I had for, it was just a bunch of old stuff that I wanted to make sure we kept kind of in front of and made sure that the current members were where it's still actively being worked on.
I have one thing, just I want to bring up on the 13th, I think LERC or LEPC is doing a workshop.
I was gonna bring that up under
Okay, and a
new business.
Yeah, all right. Okay, it could have went either way, I guess, but yeah. But,
Good job,
the
good job.
STR for the plantation is just.
Good job, good job. So yeah, just to follow up on what Jimmy is saying, LUPEC is going to hold an STR regulations meeting. There's a drop-in hour from 5 to 6, and the community meeting is from 6:30 to 8 on 7/13 at the school. And STRs is short-term rentals, just in case anybody didn't know that.
Is that also Zoomable?
Do not know the answer to that, I'm sorry. It is a land use planning commission, so I don't. Yeah. Perfect. That's new and that's new. Okay, moving on. New business. RFP for planning services. Joe, could you give us a rundown of what it looks like we got 3 responses, and it looks like they're all piece and piece and piece. Like maybe not all of them are the same thing. Is that, I'm getting like oranges and apples and pears.
Yeah,
Okay.
we released the RFP for a handful of services. I think I shared what those were. Basically, general on-call planning services, if there's a heavy-duty application that the CEO may need to have some help with the planning board. So general on-call stuff. Comprehensive plan review to assist the comprehensive review and implementation committee with that process and to help me through it. All 3 folks responded to all of these. The only one that AvCog couldn't do, the others could, was the form-based code or design review. So I was taking feedback from the board at the time for what you were looking for, which was to look at a concept plan for implementing form-based code, which is kind of related to a design review ordinance. So we're looking for help from a consultant to kind of shepherd us through that process. And really what this has to do with, the look of your community in certain areas, especially your downtown. So what can be built in terms of building style, what should it look like, those types of, that's it in a nutshell, that's what it is. We've worked with AvCog in the past on ordinance reviews. They've helped us quite a bit with chapter 38. The comp plan hasn't been reviewed since 2012. I think the town had some help from AvCog at that time, but it was a strong group of folks in town that contributed to that update of the comp plan in 2012. So that's kind of the background there. I'm comfortable with what AvCog can do for us with the comp plan, with general plan. I think I'd like to interview, I know I'd like to interview the other 2 firms and dig in a little bit more in terms of the form-based code and or the design review ordinance. So it's really, it's not under consent items because I really just wanted to bring you up to speed on what I released there a while back. We got the responses and I wanted to make sure that it kind of kept you in the loop on that. So that's kind of my strategy with it.
So at this time, it sounds like it's your intent to have a follow-up conversation with the LK Planning and the North Star, correct?
Yes.
To get into the meat of.
Right.
Okay.
I had asked for a lump sum for the comprehensive plan update.
Yep.
And that's, I understand why one person did and the other ones didn't, because you really don't know
Yeah.
the personalities involved or the extent you might get into certain issues. So we got one lump sum, and then some folks that said, to be determined by the hour. One of them listed hourly rates for planners, associate planners, lower staff levels. So it really would require an interview to kind of dial in what it would take to do the form-based code work there with these folks.
Did board members have additional?
I do, yes. I've spent a lot of time reviewing the proposals, and just so you all know, obviously I formerly lived in Freeport, was on the planning board. Donna Lawson is the principal of LK Planning. And I also know the fellow that is from North Star. He did a lot, he was working in the Wyndham Planning Department too. And I reviewed AvCog's body of work, and we actually have a contract with them that's budgeted for $7,200 and change for this particular budget season.
We pay, good question, Master. We pay our dues.
But the dues are included, I mean, I sorry to interrupt, but the dues, the way that I interpreted it, and you're right, it was apples, oranges, and bananas. All three were very different. But that dues encompasses a lot of what the RFP requests were. But the one thing I found was that their expertise doesn't lie in comprehensive planning necessarily in terms of like community input. It's more of a top-down versus an organic community conversation. And I'd also note that the facilitator from their group, Ms. Buffkins, just joined that firm this spring, I believe. And she's only had 3 years of planning experience and has never facilitated a comprehensive planning effort before, which takes a lot of, I'd say, experience or expertise calling the information out from the people in the community that the plan will serve. I also found that the North Star group is, I've heard great things about Ben. He's visionary, that's what a lot of people have said. But a lot of the people in their firm, very bright people, but they really have not a lot of experience.
I picked up on that too.
I mean, quite young, and I mean, that's amazing. We love having young folks in planning, but with the type of community that Rangeley is, where it's so unique and so different, and we have a good plan to start with. I think if you have somebody that has some experience to move that forward, you can look, the historical stuff isn't going to change. You know, you do need new demographics, you need new traffic counts, and all that stuff can actually be compiled by AvCog. And they also have the facility to generate a grant fund for 10 grand through Maine Department of Economic and Community Development, which would be a nice dovetail opportunity. So I want us to use our money wisely and get the best product too. I just think it's hard for someone that doesn't have a lot of experience to facilitate a multi-focus group meeting, because ideally you'd want to divide it into have an area for the history, an area for the topography, an area for the vision, which should have a lot of input. Just my 2 cents. And I'd be happy to participate on that committee as well.
Comprehensive Plan Committee?
Yes.
Perfect, so please submit an appointment
I
application,
will.
and we'll do that at the next meeting. We'll do that in the next meeting, that would be great. Perfect, thank you so much, that was great feedback. Joe, you absorbed all that information, and I know that you're very intuitive when it comes to making sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck, so.
Can I follow up?
Yes, please.
So you're generally comfortable with AvCog for comp plan?
I don't know. I would want to meet Ms. Buffkins.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen so many plans start off and not go well because the facilitator doesn't have enough going on. And it really depends on the committee that we have in the town too. I mean, if we have a good leadership, component there, then maybe that could buffer somebody with less experience. I'm not really sure. All I'm saying is I know Ben and I know Donna well. I guess I would lean into her a little bit just because I know how good she is at it. And maybe, I'm not sure. I mean, I think that we can get a lot of the background stuff from AvCog, have her lead the meeting, and then the form-based code 2 thing is something you should think about, not as just what it is, because there's possibilities to do hybrid versions of that, or more of a review versus that, because sometimes that can get abused depending upon who's looking at it, because it's very prescriptive and it depends who's looking at it, what it looks like.
correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but that comprehensive plan review committee doesn't have anyone on it right now.
It does.
Okay, how many members is that again? Is it 5 or 7?
Pretty sure it's a 5-member, but I believe there are 2 appointed.
Okay.
There was one that just was a selectman. It was no longer on here. But selectman is on it by default.
Yeah.
Just has to be appointed.
Yeah.
So that person's no longer. So I think there are 2 appointed currently, but 3 could operate. So if there were 3 folks appointed,
Okay.
we could get that going. And,
Perfect.
if we got it going in the next few weeks, it might be a good idea to have that committee interview some of these consultants for the work, or interview with me. That's where I went with that conversation. So that's what, if we can do it, in time, I think that's what I would prefer for that portion of it. If you're okay with it.
Yes, and if you could bring the appointment for Wendy to the next meeting, that'd be great.
Sure.
Please, thank you. You can do so if you wish, sir. You can do so if you wish.
Only for the paper.
Okay, any further discussion on the planning services? And I'm so sorry, I'm gonna bring up 2 other things under new. Here we go. Do we currently have any amount in excess of 25% in unassigned fund balance? There you go, let me spit that out. I'm asking for that to be on the next agenda.
Sure.
Because if we do, we are supposed to, by our fund balance policy, we are supposed to assign it. Please and thank you. And then I would also request that bylaws be placed on the next agenda. To give a little history, folks, I don't think that any board or committee should be working or functioning without a set of bylaws. And this board doesn't have any.
Right.
So I would love to have a draft set for the next meeting. That would be great.
Can I add something? This is Rebecca.
Yes.
So we were over 25%, and that's why we budgeted the 500,000 in revenue when we did our budget.
Okay.
So in the revenue part of the warrant, 500,000 from undesignated was included in that.
Okay. And I promise that's all I had, Joe. Anything else? We don't have anything else on the agenda under new. Town manager reports. This is not a report meeting, folks. We'll get those. Second one. Calendar. July 17th. Oh, that's next Monday, right? Okay. So Joe and I had a brief conversation about whether or not to bump next meeting. And we couldn't see any reason why we should. I mean, as long as everybody's good with having 2 back-to-back, rather than bounce around our schedules. I mean, we typically meet first and third. We know that we skipped the first because of the holiday. So if there's no issue with, he would have been scheduled to be here anyway.
Might have changed things.
Would the workshop be before our meeting then, on the 17th?
So the tax commitment workshop?
Yep. That'll be-
Yeah, so we could either schedule it for a time before, or we could schedule it at the start of. So we could schedule it for 6 o'clock. I'm listening.
I will be absent on the 17th.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody wants to start the workshop at 5. I just throwing it out there. Doesn't matter to me either way, but.
Okay. So 5 does hold a little bit of a conflict for me because I don't get out of my day job till 5.
Okay, that's
So
fine.
it crunches up. We could do a 5:30. If
I'm
everybody's,
okay with any time, it's fine.
okay, so
5:30?
5:30 for the tax commitment workshop would be great.
I'm gonna keep
Will the
it set.
assessor be here for that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Matt
Just
will be
making
here.
sure.
Matt will spend the day free gaming here.
Perfect, perfect. All right, and then the only other calendar item I had written down was the Land Use Planning Commission meeting on 7/13, but I announced it earlier. Jimmy and I both did, sorry. Other business, monthly financials, they get provided to us in our emails. Everybody's got their electronic devices assigned to them.
Have not been
Haven't
assigned
received
yet.
that yet.
We're
Working on that.
working on that.
Okay.
They are available, Madam Chair, on our website, I believe, in the green box.
Perfect.
Let me double check. No, Tracy, puts those up there. Yes, they are on there, in the green box at the top.
So in the interim, you can go to the website.
Very good.
Town manager appointments. Thank you, Joe, for providing a list of appointments that you handle.
There is one in there, Madam Chair, that the board should confirm. which is the assistant town manager. So
Yeah.
that in my absence, she can perform the duties.
And do you want that in a motion, sir?
Please,
What do you want for words, Joe?
appoint Tracy LaVoy as assistant town manager.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to appoint Tracy LaVoy as assistant town manager.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous, Joe. Thank you so much for that list. Central Maine Power State Pole Permit. Who's here to listen? Did I miss you?
That is.
I missed.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're getting to the end of this. Okay. Let's go back into the chat. Joe, do you have any feedback regarding the permit?
Madam Chair, this is, what you have tonight is informational only for Maine DOT. This is something that was submitted to them that shows some upgrades up Loon Lake Road. Some of the poles and some of the conductors, I think, are going to be updated. So they're required to give this to us as an update, this is for a file. What's also coming, which you don't have tonight, is the local permit application for Pressure Ridge Road. So Carl has been working on that with the developers. We've had some questions about can the power be overhead or does it need to be underground? So I think we've answered that question, but that is not before you tonight. It is the select board that has authority over those applications. So you will be seeing that hopefully at your next meeting. You'll have the opportunity to take action on that. But basically, that's what it comes down to.
Sorry.
They're upgrading the lines to get from the solar facility or solar facility that's under construction to the main line down there.
Okay.
This is informing us that this is okay with the DOT and they're all right with those lines, poles and lines being upgraded on. You'll receive an application for Pressure Ridge shortly. Not tonight, but shortly.
Okay.
No,
You go to that
I
meeting
just,
too?
I just wanted to get an update on that.
So we'll see you at the next meeting.
Yeah. I'm
Thank
part
you
of the
so much.
developer company, so I just wanted, that's the only thing that's left for us to move forward with. Permit-wise, so just wanted to see what's the next procedure.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. Any select board communication? No.
I'd like to thank the town and the fire department, and police chief for the fireworks and all that display. And
Oh,
it's an
fabulous.
incredible, hardworking day for all the town and everybody. So much appreciated.
So fabulous.
It was a great holiday, yes.
I do just want to go on record and thank Shelley and Cindy for their years of service because it was not done at the previous meeting. And I realized that afterwards and felt horrible about it. So thank you so much, ladies. Come back and get on something else. We do not have an executive session this evening. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Perfect. Any further discussion? All those in favor? I don't even know why I asked on that. That was unanimous. So.
Thank you very much, appreciate that. Hey, everyone.
Good job, team.